everyone, I'm Colleen with Awaken Catholic, and this is Awaken the Saint. Blessed Emilian Kovch was born in Ukraine in the year 1884. After his early schooling, he went on to study theology in Rome from 1905 to 1911. He was married that year just before being ordained. For those unaware, marriage is allowed for Greek Orthodox priests, who are not required to remain celibate. Around 1918, war broke out between Poland and Ukraine, and Father Emilian took up a position as military chaplain, seeing to the spiritual well-being of the Ukrainian soldiers. He wasn't afraid to be in a combat zone and was quoted saying, "You know, lads, that I am consecrated, and a bullet doesn't take a consecrated man easily." It turned out he was right. He was captured during the war but not killed. He remained a captive for a short while before he was released and then became the parish priest at a town not far from his home. He lived out a humble but active parish life, looking after his parishioners and supporting the poor. He was sympathetic to the Ukrainian independence movement, which earned him no shortage of suspicion from the Polish authorities, who searched his house more than 40 times. Despite this, he held no grudge against the Polish. When some of his parishioners acted out and looted Polish homes, he condemned their actions and ensured those crimes wouldn't be repeated. When the Nazis arrived in Ukraine in the 1940s, Emilian spoke out against their inhumane cruelty and violence against the Jewish people. During this time, he baptized and assisted many Jews who came to him for help. When the Nazis closed the ghettos where they forced the Jews to reside, Father Emilian applied for permission to enter and offer baptism for anyone who wanted it. It wasn't long before the Gestapo arrested Father Emilian and questioned him regarding his actions. In a surviving record of the interrogation, an officer informed him that baptizing Jews was illegal and asked him if he planned to continue, to which he replied, "Of course." As punishment for his defiance, Emilian was sent to a concentration camp in Lublin. Far from despairing, though, he was incredibly grateful to be in such an awful place, where he felt it was his God-given mission to guide his fellow prisoners in the midst of their struggles. While his family tried to have him released, their efforts proved fruitless, and according to Emilian, unnecessary. He wrote to them shortly before his death, "I understand you are trying to get me released. I beg you not to do this. Yesterday they killed 50 people. If I am not here, who will help them get through these sufferings? They would go on their way to eternity in the depths of unbelief. But now they go to death with their heads held aloft, leaving all their sins behind them." Records state that Emilian fell ill and died of infection in 1944, and his body was cremated in the concentration camp. He was beatified in 2001 by Pope John Paul II. Father Emilian was a man of unfailing bravery who stood in the midst of despair and proclaimed hope. His example, like the example of many virtuous souls who went to their deaths in the concentration camps, shows that in the most difficult times in our lives, we often find the greatest opportunities for service. Blessed Emilian Kovch, pray for us.
Thank you for tuning in to Awaken the Saint.